On behalf of all the group here, Harry, here's your goal.
Ready? But we are in the company of a man who can only be described as one of the icons of the industry. I don't think anyone would dispute that. 39 years of aviation, 27,380 hours and 52 minutes, 11,500 hours on magnificent BAE 146s, and the guy is actually still alive. He's actually still alive, so you've done exceedingly well, Harry. And I think he's absolute living testimony to the fact that the air conditioning in these 146s is absolutely perfectly good. Perfectly good for your skin. Yeah.
You must be management.
You must be the union rep. No, look, Harry is just one of those guys who's been a timeless. He's a timeless rogue, really. I mean, I've known Harry from Transwest days in the up in the Pilbara. And let me tell you, he's not entirely the saint that he appears to be. You know, when you're flying along an old ex-Transwest Islander and a bloke 4 mates on you in a Cessna 310 and all you hear over the radio is "Gotcha, you bastard." These sort of things did actually happen in the past when we used to sort of knock each other's contracts off back in those fun days up there. Rumour has it that I subsequently went to a party at Harry's place and got so pissed I fell over in the garden and couldn't stand up for a week. I don't believe a word of it, but it could be true. Yeah. It's going to take probably 25 people to replace Harry, and I'd like everyone to...
Kick him out of the class.
Yeah, tomorrow night's more the night for speeches, but I'd like everyone to just fill their glasses. I think I've just lost my beer somewhere. And propose a toast to Harry one of the best guys you could possibly ever know, and definitely, I think, probably the best aviator I've ever known. So here's to Harry. Good on you, Harry.
And what about Pat?
Hey, what about
Pat? She's had to put up with it.
Harry's very shy, so we're unlikely to get a couple of words in response.
What a shame. Well, first of all,
Hooray for
Hooray for Harry, he's a horse's ass. He's not the horse's ass, he's coming out.
Have you ever seen a greater collection of happy first officers?
no. It all starts from the Oneil renter crowd.
Yeah, that'll be right.
Standard treatment, mate. I only had to say
Don't
one word.
Don't stand under the bush here. Come out here in the middle of the
I had to say one word and get started on the second before it starts. It's normal.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen, if there's a Thank you.
First of all, thanks for the nice words, but the world cemeteries are littered with indispensable people.
Jeez, how am I going to respond to that? I have to think that one through, Harry.
Like old General MacArthur said, I subscribe to the view that
Ladies and gentlemen,
old
anyone
soldiers should
requiring the
just
shuttle bus to
fade
the
away.
Qantas domestic terminal, please assemble outside. Thank
Tonight
you.
was very overwhelming, I've got to say. I know some people have, without singling out all people, but some people have come a long way. I hope it's not just for this.
We've got to send the bucket
I'm going to single those out because I really am very impressed, and I'm not too sure what for. But first of all, my best mate Charlie back there, a little dark chappy there. When he left National Jet in May of '95, I was on his last flight. So thanks for coming, Charlie.
It was one of the happiest days in the company's history.
From Dubai, everybody. I don't know if you know, but Pat Cale down there as well. Mark Hall's come down from Queensland. Terry O'Connell from Melbourne. Gordon Lawson from Hong Kong. So it's quite overwhelming. Quite overwhelming. Rat bags from the past. Trans West, Sky West. I'm not going to single everybody out, but you're wonderful.
There's even some flying services people.
Flying services, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Bruce Glover.
Dicko from down at Albany, thank you very much. I actually can't speak properly. I'm quite overwhelmed, so I'm not going to say too much more. But thank you very much for coming.
Harold Francis Oneil. And behind me here actually is a little stool because he's sitting there in his usual position thinking that he can take, low profile and not be seen. But we're actually going to sit him on this little stool here out the front. Just to remind him of his school days. Come here, Harry. Captain Harry.
Bring him down.
Sit up here and I'll give you a feed.
I knew there was buckets in the ceiling.
No, we're definitely very lucky tonight to be in the company of one hell of a grand fellow, and I think you'd all absolutely agree with that comment. They threw away the mould and they played this great. We're going to actually start the evening with 1 minute silence for Pat, because an absolutely magnificent lady who is clearly the strength behind the throne. I hope I'm not making too many noises. This poor lady has to waken up each morning from now forward and actually find this ugly bugger in the bed alongside and not wanting to get out. Lift your head up, Harry, so we can see you. None of the shine. Face the music, old son. 39 years, 27,380 hours and 52 minutes. Made a mistake last night, I said 55. 11,500 hours on BAE 146s. Now if this bloke, Harry, you'll get your turn. If this bloke is not living testimony to the quality of the air in a BAE 146, the stuff should be bottled and actually sold at Max Factor. I think, you know, I mean, I actually feel quite inadequate this evening actually officiating in any way at this function, because I just put Harry right up there, and I think everyone in this room does. He's an exceptionally fantastic individual, and we're all here because we love him. And Harry, it's important to know too that this is actually not really just a company do. Everyone here has actually made this evening happen, and they're all here because everyone loves you to bits and we want to be here with you. Yeah. I know it's hard to believe it, but it's true, and I'm certainly not giving you a kiss to prove it. Harry fits into the category of a true icon of this industry, and they don't come along very often. And I must admit that being the oldest and ugliest bugger representing National Jet in Western Australia, I got the job of sort of making sure this evening sort of was dragged together. And one of the things that worried me most from the very beginning was, how do you possibly find anyone in the country who can actually pay due credit to Harry for the fantastic achievements of 39 years in the industry, and actually 11,500 hours on a 146, and he's still alive. I mean, what an achievement, you know. He is truly identified as an icon of the industry, and as far as I'm concerned, icons should be spoken about by icons. And there's another guy in our company here this evening who I'm very, very honoured to have come up and actually say a few words on behalf of Harry. He's an old mate of Harry's from way back. He's still got dark hair, but he's probably not that far from the same ventures, and he's probably having a look at tonight and think, my God, this is what I'm going to get in a few years' time. But ladies and gentlemen, I would like to hand over to Captain Ian Smith, one of aviation's finest.
Well, crew number 63.
That's all I am.
Your time's nearly up. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Daniela and the rest of the team at National Jet and all present here this evening, it's certainly my pleasure to join with you as we celebrate nearly 4 decades of involvement with aviation here in the West by one Captain Harold Francis Oneil. I don't propose to take up too much of your time. However, if I can initially take you back to 1992, let me refresh your memory. The skipper of the XL Valdez was acquitted. The Mabo decision was handed down by the High Court. The Tobacco Prohibition Act was enacted. The West Coast Eagles are about to win their first premiership. And our much loved Harry O'Neill's career with National Jet started on April Fool's Day. After an evening a year or so earlier in London with the company's then founder, Mr. Warren Seymour, which is probably significant, but a matter best relegated to history and further discussion or exploration at a later time. During my background research this evening, I've been contacted by a number of folk about this bloke, but let's go back to where it all began, and I quote, "Just over 38 years ago, 5 of us were waiting in the departure area that was to be our first flight with Captain Harry. The incoming flight was a few minutes late arriving, but soon the Murchison Cessna 206, Romeo Tango Sierra, materialised from behind a gum tree and landed in front of us on a red strip 76 miles south of Dampier along the Hamersley Range. Over the next 2 years we saw a lot of Harry as we travelled up and down the first Hamersley and then the Newman Railway projects. Harry's the kind of person that instills the utmost confidence as a pilot, was always a welcome addition to whatever was happening. And despite her best efforts, I don't think Pat has succeeded in changing him one bit. Ralph, Linda, Devon, and Colin Garrett, Calgary, Canada. There is more to that to come shortly as John Murdoch shares with us some various greetings received over the last week as we recognise this occasion. Harry's commercial aviation career got started in 1967 with Murchison Air Services. A number of you here present this evening will recall the days of rail between Transwest and civil flying services out of Port Hedland in the early to mid-70s. He eventually worked for Sky West and subsequently East West Airlines as a captain on the F-28. Following the tragic events of 1989, he moved overseas. If you rang him in those days whilst transiting Brussels, there was a reasonable chance you'd be shipped off at short notice for a museum tour of Antwerp, followed by a great lunch, an obligatory bottle of red, plus cheers and black beers, and such is the generosity of this individual. Harry has always had a keen interest in history. While in Europe, he spent considerable time researching the World War I battlefields and the first Australian Imperial Forces involvement in that war to end all wars. For those of you that have been lucky enough to sight his collection of exquisitely bound records containing a number of well-maintained scrapbooks, it's actually a sight to behold. In fact, I'm of the opinion that the work completed would qualify for an honorary doctorate. Such is the quality of the detail and the presentation provided to this continuing interest. One thing is most certain, Harry, you've never lost any of those drafting skills at your initial trade training in early years, despite the best efforts of a number of nameless crew room mates here present this evening that seem to gain some perverse pleasure out of constantly vandalising your elegantly crafted memos. As already stated, Harry joined National Jet as a BA 146 pilot in April '92. Both he and Pat relocated to Rockhampton as our airlink operations stabilised over the next 2-year period until 1994 when we finally headed west. I still marvel at the enormity of that task, and in the period from June through to November 1994, in that time frame we doubled the original size of the company in an initial 3-month period through to September, and then we did it again. It would therefore be remiss if I did not make some reference to the support we received along the way from all those involved, and in particular Harry Oneil. Harry, your appointment as the senior base pilot position here in Perth was nothing short of an absolute success. In those early days of airlink here in WA and the 3.5 years that followed, the additional duties and responsibilities that you undertook on our behalf were considerable. The liaison responsibilities that you exercised with our clients were invaluable, and the contribution to our success is both recognised by all and immeasurable. Harry, thank you. And we also had a bit of fun along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get a sober word out of our clients.
Who would forget the article in the Sunday Times dated the 13th of November 1994, and I quote, "Harry Oneil may not have been as good a footballer as his brother John, who was a State and Swan Districts player, but he made his mark as a pilot in WA and overseas. Harry was an aircraft captain of the airlink route proving flight and knows the outback better than most, having flown from the halcyon days of the mining industry in the Pilbara and the goldfields. He can recall the intrigue that used to go on in Kalgoorlie's Palace Hotel when the air was full of prospecting planes. They used to huddle in the corner of the pub trying to find out where each other had flown the previous afternoon." Nor the photo of Harry standing hand in hand with 2 early school-aged children about to take their first flight, and the story in the Western Australian at that same time. However, initial expansion to Western Australia was only the beginning of what was to be a further part of an incredible journey. And in the years that followed, we introduced additional aircraft into Western Australia. The Airlink promotional tour and lunch at Albany on the 1st of June 1995, and the afternoon scenic flights over Rocknest Island was something to behold. The introduction of services to Telfer in December 95, and the dedication of an Avro RJ to that contract for the last 10 years or more. The Christmas Island 1 and Christmas Island 2 experiences. And finally the current operation in our own right. The various charter flights to Southeast Asia and China, Barrow Island. To give you an idea of Harry's passion for life and the people in this company and our success, let me share with you the contents of a postcard I received from Gallipoli in Turkey, dated the 31st of August 1997, and I again quote, "G'day Smithy. While normally I don't think of you on holidays, I did yesterday at Gallipoli. I found a spent 303 case at the junction of Shrapnel and Monash gullies. I thought you'd like to know. Today we head for Bulgaria. Yuck. First Barrow Island flight tomorrow. Hope it goes well, mate. Cheers, Harry." The inaugural flight to Barrow Island was successfully launched on the 1st of September 1997. Then in 1998, giving the flogging of the West Coast Eagles had received since Harry's arrival in Perth, after their second success in '94, Harry elected to join one of Warren's ventures in Ireland and Europe. While it was to be a 6-month attachment, he was out of the country till mid-99, having elected then not to become further involved with the National Jet Italia venture.
Mr. Guinness.
Over the period of his 39-year career, and we've had some statistics thrown up by Hugh earlier on this evening, Harry accumulated in excess of 27,000 hours, with allowed in excess of 11,000 in command on the 146. He's still got an equal number of landings and takeoffs. He got on first name terms with a Pelican on downwind in the circuit area at Rockhampton. The original repair patch is still evident on the outboard wingtip of November Juliet Romeo. He left an engine or part of it somewhere between Murrin and Perth. He's been involved in the Staff Superannuation Committee as the employee representative. He's remained dedicated to all things aviation. He's an absolute enthusiast. He's remained diplomatic, and he's damn good at his job. Throughout his career, he exemplified the very best, and the very best. Harry has served as an example to all, demonstrating through persistence anything is possible, even in the face of obstacles, when his determination gives us his best work. He's proud of his heritage, and I can think of no other person that when the company needed an elder statesman, a leader, or a representative, then Harry was actually whom we had, both when and where we needed him. Thank you, Big Ted, for what can only be described as a grand era. And as it comes to a close, we all wish you and Pat the very best in your retirement. Whilst it can be seen as one era ends and another begins, I can say for those of you who have known him throughout his time at National Jet, they've benefited from the association, your expertise and your passion for all things aviation. It's not goodbye, so I ask all here present to charge their glasses as we drink a toast to your continued success. And at this point, I'll just say, stay in touch, old mate. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Harry Oneil, crew number 63, one of aviation's real gentlemen.
Hi, Harry. He's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us. Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Cheers, Harry!
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to now call on Daniela to make a small presentation on behalf of the company and all here present this evening, prior to handing back to Hugh for the completion of proceedings. Thank you.
Harry, I was having a little think today, 27,000 hours, I did a bit of calculation here, and in accounting speak, that's only 15 years of work. So I'm not really quite sure what all the fuss is about. But I do have, first of all, a little National Jet goodie bag, which you have to have. But more specially is something else we've got here for you, which I think you'll absolutely adore. And I'd just like to say it has been an absolute honour and pleasure to work with you. You've been incredible. I think you're a great friend and a mentor to many people. And we will certainly miss you, and it's going to be very hard to replace you.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Harry's never been big on words other than his responses to air traffic controllers. So I think he should suffer the penance of actually a couple of words in return.
Absolutely.
Come over here, Harry.
Well, I actually thought today was going to be easier than yesterday. I'm going to preface this by saying if I miss out on people, if I miss out on people in places, it's not my fault.
Oh yes, it is. Age related, Harry. Age related.
Working for an Adelaide-based company. It's amazing. I actually got 3 words in before that started. Yesterday was only 2. For those who don't know them, that's the Oneil, Ludwig's and Augustin Rent-A-Crowd. Working for an Adelaide-based company is bad for, very bad for employer relations on days like today.
Yeah, I agree.
I went out and shot a crow this morning. So I could put it on the manager director's table tonight. But after the game, Pat and I went home and ate it. So as to be in the correct mood for the night. That's all I want to hear about today's game.
Don't worry, you'll hear more.
Through life, in general, flying in particular, I suppose you pick up and drop off people as you go. I'm being told that I picked up more than I've dropped off tonight, which I'm grateful to hear. I would like to first of all acknowledge Mum, my little short mum here, 87 years old. This is not that good for Mum, but it bears thinking about. I started out life in a drawing office with my good friend Gary Mike, who's still there. Not in the drawing office.
Nearby.
He's on the top floor. I've never been there. And 6 years later, I got my commercial license and decided to go to the unknown world of flying, down the pay and all that stuff. And Mum wanted to know why I'm leaving a good government job to go away. Well, Mum, we survived. Yeah.
Fall to the ground.
Next, my dear loving wife, who stuck with us all through thick and thin. The ups and downs of life in flying. It's been, a lot of it's good, some of it hasn't been so good. And my sons and daughter-in-law and granddaughter, Danae, I appreciate all the support that you've given us over all these years. Yeah. Even the Rent-A-Crowd, the Augustins, the Ludwigs, O'Neills, and sundry hangers-on. Regardless of all the bravado, it's I'm actually accepting that as being positive. And of course, National Jet Daniela, I've actually enjoyed immensely working for National Jet. You came after Warren Seymour. I think a better choice couldn't be made. My big mate Smithy there, I've enjoyed his company enormously, and Smithy was my boss when I was senior base here, and we had a great rapport. We could talk about anything. I could ring up Smithy at any time of the day or night, and I'd get a civil answer all the time. And Smithy, I owe you a debt of gratitude for the way you looked after me in times, and I kept you informed how things were going. It was great, and I salute you both. Thank you.
Come on, Harry.
Last on the National Jet scene, you're a bloody marvel, mate. I think this company owes you more than they can possibly give you for the amount of income and the way you've devastated the opposition in the contracts that we've got here. It's you're just a marvel. You're a marvel, and your wife Fiona, my God, you know what a trooper she is. You know, even putting up with going sailing just to keep you occupied. You're a bloody marvel, mate. Yeah.
It's blokes like you that inspire.
I'm only going to single out a couple more guys because they're. I'm going right back to do this, and one of them is my mate Gary Mike over here. We walked through the archway of the old barracks in 1961 in February, and started out lives as cadet draftsman. Gary went on to be an engineer, and he's the chief operating officer of the Water Board now.
Water Corporation. Come on, Harry, get it right, mate.
Well, I've never got a card from you, mate. You've slide it up to your office. I've never seen your front door.
We're quite choosy. We're quite choosy.
And Brian Herman. Brian and I get our commercial pilot's license on the same day. And Brian, you're a bloody good bloke. And thanks for being here tonight. Well, the rest of you are all mostly aviation hangers-on with me, I suppose. So you don't get much sympathy from me, I'm afraid. You've been with me for too long. Yeah. So you can call that a term of endearment if you want to. I gambled on a contract with Warren for 6 months, and look how it's turned out. But anyway, the highlight of my career is coming to Western Australia in '94 and doing something that's never been done before, and we wiped out the opposition. It was humongous. It was huge fun. It was a great heady time, wasn't it? So just for me, you know, no more climbing through the winter skies up to the into the morning sunrise, going through orange-coloured clouds, and see the sun as it breaks free from the horizon. That's all finished. The memories will sustain me throughout the rest of my life, I must say.
You can still do that in a Cessna 150.
Thanks for everybody for coming. I'm absolutely overwhelmed for yesterday and today. I'm struggling with this now, and but your sentiment is appreciated. I somehow think I'm not worth a lot of it, but it is appreciated, and one and all, thank you very much.
Thanks, Hugh. I can only give you tonight those that can be, how do I say, made public. There's various other ones that have been censored and whatever, but there's a few apologies from, and yeah, well, Hugh called them rogues and yeah, they fit the bill pretty well. Names by like Atkins, Menkins, Rayner and Co that are over on the 717 course at the moment. And I'll start with a little note from one of them. And if you bear with me, it'll take a few minutes to get through some of these, but I think you'll find out what Harry's been up to over the last few years from some of them. And they're not necessarily in chronological order. Well, 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 you old coot, you made it. You knew all along that we were going to push you when the time had come, but luckily you've decided to walk just before then. I'll cherish many lasting memories of our friendship over the years. The first of which was when a dozen or more of us piled into your Land Cruiser, the brown one, to cut off the fuel at Perth during the pilot's dispute. When we got bailed up by the cops, you said you knew the commissioner, and off we went. I thought, this guy's got clout. After an altercation with the silver budgie and the cane toad, we then went our separate ways until joining back up again, this time in the mighty Rock Vegas. I was stunned when I saw this dapper chap, complete with suit, coat and a Cobra, striding across the tarmac after getting off a 146 from Brisbane. I thought to myself, this guy needs a talking to. We've had plenty of laughs over the years, from you losing your glasses when you re-qualified me into Brisbane, to when we clobbered the Pelican, which you've heard about at Rocky. You turned around to me and said, you've done it now, there's a hole in the wing. But the most humiliating for me, and that's not me, this is coming from somebody else, I'm sure the most funny for you was when I unsuccessfully tried to mimic your idle NDB approaches into Rocky. Over the top I went at 7,000 feet, just like you, but ended up way too high and had to do a circuit, and I still don't know what happened. Although the tower could hear your laughing even before we landed. Apart from all the fun times, I will always remember your professionalism. Your unfailing insistence on maintaining the standard is something that you can be proud of. It is a shame that more of your ilk are not endowed with the same urge to do things properly. NJS and aviation generally will be the poorer for you taking yourself out of the picture. Well, my old ageing nuisance mate, as I sit in my hotel room in Brisbane trying to fathom out how to fly a light twin, I wish I was there with you tonight to help you celebrate the end to a fine and illustrious and devoted career, of which you have every right to be satisfied. I wish you and the lovely Patricia well in your retirement, and I'll make sure that we keep in close contact. And finally, I hope you enjoy the rest of your AFM. To explain, it's an Alwyn-free month. Next week. Cheers and black beers, Harry, and all the best from Alwyn Atkins. There was one short one that came in from people that he flew with in Belgium. It was something about, tell the old bastard it's about time, but I couldn't quite get the translation out of the I did pick up those two words in there somewhere. There's another one after the one from Calgary in Canada. This one's addressed subject, Captain Heavy Harry Retirement. I hope you can pass on to Harry that his old mates back here in the US have not forgotten him after all these years, the wild flights in the outback. It was back in the 60s when he first got his wings, and we were flying with him in 182s and 206s. We all look forward to the next visit by the Oneils to North America to talk over old times and of course have a few pints. Bev and Al Blair from Blair Transportation Service, and also good wishes from Monty, Joe and Charlie. And there's another rather long-winded one, but it'll maybe give you an insight into what Harry got up to when he was in Belgium.
That was a secret.
This comes from Bangkok. I've been monitoring the radar up here and picked up a signal that you're about to hang up your wings, in an ATPL sense anyway. I beg the indulgence of the gathering to say a few words in absentia in the hope that these might be part of your retirement celebrations this evening. Wish I could be there, but perhaps call this one a go-round and I'll catch up with you on the next approach, hopefully as a tourist in Bangkok. For the many here this evening that do not know me, I'm Andrew T, Air Traffic Controller and long-term mate of Harry's, presently posted to ICAO in Bangkok, so unable to be here this evening. I thought I would sneak a few words of congratulations to Harry on this very special occasion. Harry and I met in about 1990 in interesting circumstances. I was nursing a hangover on a train from Brussels to Paris early one Saturday morning on the way to the Paris Air Show. As I dozed, I heard Harry's dulcet tones whispering quietly in the corner of the railway carriage. I recognised the voice and I felt sure that I knew him, so I stuck my head up over the seat, only to be confronted by a face I'd never seen before. Somewhat perplexed, I dozed off again to awake an hour and a half later, even more convinced that I knew the voice. I asked Harry who he was and did we know each other. He seemed a little taken aback and denied any prior knowledge. In our subsequent conversation, it became apparent that I had been controlling traffic around Western Australia, including Perth Centre and Port Hedland Tower, and had been working Harry for some 5 or 6 years in his roles with Sky West and what we used to call the Budgie, East-West, a brightly coloured green and yellow F-28. Having established that we kind of knew each other, we teamed up for the following 2 or 3 years in Europe when Harry was flying F-28s out of Antwerp with DAT, a subsidiary of the Belgian national airline Sabena, whilst I instructed the Belgian in the finer points of air traffic control. As you might imagine, 2 errant Australians on the loose in Europe did wreak a certain kind of havoc. Harry was using his time constructively after the pilots' dispute in '89, whilst wife Pat was holding the fort in Perth in regard to educating their boys. Whilst it is fair to say that Harry missed his family deeply, it did not dissuade him from enjoying life. I would like to recall for his friends and colleagues this evening a couple of highlights. We had a BMW 323i each, and we took great advantage of these in touring widely and continually through Europe, often low flying on the German autobahns, reaching, I think it's a typo because it says 240, but I'm sure they were doing 340 km per hour plus on one occasion. I recall many weekends where we departed Brussels at about 4 in the afternoon on Friday after I finished work and returned to Brussels at 3 a.m. on the Monday morning in time for me to get 2 to 3 hours sleep before going to work. Harry demonstrated encyclopedic knowledge of European war history, and thanks to Harry, I was able to relive many of the historical battles of Europe while standing on the battlefields involved. Of course, after such sombre occasions, we indulged our other mission, to sample the beers of Europe. This was not an insignificant challenge in that the Belgians alone produced in the order of 500 different types of beer, and the remaining countries of Central Europe did not do badly either. It became apparent early on that we enjoyed the dark or black beers in the main, and this became, over a time, Harry's signature salutation: cheers and black beers, love Harry. I recall sneaking an illegal cockpit ride with Harry on the F-28 one afternoon from Antwerp to London Heathrow, and Harry's joy at being #1 in the landing sequence to a British Airways Concorde. That joy turned to irritation after landing when the Concorde made a short field approach, vacated one taxiway earlier than Harry's F-28, and we were forced to follow the Concorde to the apron. As I recall, there were other issues that evening in regard to the inability of the London handling agent to tally the persons on board appropriately with the manifest. It appeared there was one extra. In his usual cheerful manner, Harry pointed out that he was the pilot in command and the issue was of no matter. We spent many an hour endeavouring to learn French, the 2 of us and a language teacher, and in the main it was to no avail. We do, however, take a significant pride in being able to order ham and cheese sandwiches in about 12 languages of Europe, as the ham and cheese sandwiches and black beers became the staple of our travels in Europe. I suspect that the black beer may have contributed to the navigational errors we experienced in our travels in Europe, however we have no firm evidence of this. On another occasion, I remember sustaining Harry after one of his more interesting ordeals. He had reported for duty at Antwerp and been advised that the afternoon schedule had been changed and he was to operate the F-28 on a one-off trip to one of the ports in Switzerland, Zurich. Harry had felt pleased with this opportunity until advised that the flight plan ETD was in 90 minutes, that it was a revenue flight, and when he asked about a slideshow or route briefing of some kind, was appraised that nothing was available. Undeterred, Harry blasted off into the middle of the European winter en route to Switzerland. During the flight, Harry's FO, Bad Bart, so named because he was the quietest and mildest individual that either of us had ever met, took opportunity to update Captain Harry in regard to his flying experience. As I recall, this totaled about 150 hours, of which 130 hours have been gained in the Cessna 152 and the Piper Cherokee, with the remaining 20 hours in the right-hand seat of the F-28. Harry was never quite the same after this trip. His weather was appalling. The FO hindered rather than helped, and on arrival, Harry had been unable to taxi the aircraft accurately because of the black ice, with the machine responding better to differential power than nose-wheel steering. In addition, a block of ice the size of a mini miner detached itself from underneath the nose of the aircraft shortly after parking at the bay. I guess, Harry, we could go on for hours, but let's save that for another time. Suffice to say that I have yet to meet anybody with your ability to get on and communicate with others, including air traffic controllers. Congratulations on completing a long and varied career, evidenced by the many flying hours recorded in your logbooks. Good luck for your future with Pat and the boys, and we expect to see you in Bangkok sometime. And that's from Andrew, Sharon, Sven, Raymond and Tatiana Teed in Bangkok. As I said, there's various other messages that have been relayed to me over the last few days to pass on to Harry, but I'll do that in private. Pat and other ladies aren't present. Harry's got a fair idea who they come from and what they say. Thank you.
Who did the detective work?
I don't know either. It came from all over the world.
Living in fear of all evening is actually the family perspective, and I'll now like to invite Carolyn Oneil, Harry's sister, Catherine starts with something similar. Deary me. To come up and say a few words about Harry, and let's see what level of sweat he breaks out to.
I'm going to talk tonight about the times before Harry was flying. Harry was born in Wongan Hills on a Tuesday, Mum tells me.
Wongan Hills?
Explains
everything.
On a Tuesday, and so they say that Tuesday's child is full of grace. And Mum certainly Mum felt that this was Harry. He was always a man of grace as a young child, but I think flying's changed all that.
Agreed.
Hal's first working life started when he went on a farm when he was about 15 years of age. He went to a farm down south to earn money during the summer school holidays, and he did this from the age of 14 and kept doing this every summer throughout high school.
Wongan Hills.
Well, yeah, the first time was down south, and then from then on he went up around the Wongan Hills districts. He would do, when he first went away, he would just do very menial tasks, things that he didn't like doing at home, like sweeping and cleaning up. But then he graduated to seeding and wheat carting, driving the trucks, etc. He also had an after-school job at the local service station, and he was at school at CBC in the Terrace in the city. So that he would ride his bike from Midland. We lived in Midland, and he would ride his bike into the city to school and home again, and so that he could get home in time quite often for his after-school job at the local service station, he used to, whilst he was on his bike, grab the back of a bus and let the bus pull him halfway home. In the summer times when Hal would go away to the farms to work, his brother John, the second eldest in our family, would then carry on with the job at the service station for him to, so that they didn't lose the job to somebody else. So John would carry it on while he was away, and then when he came back, Harry would take over again. And between John and Harry, they did this job for quite a number of years. Hal was 17 when, just turned 17 when our father died, and he and John both realised that things were very hard for Mum with a civilian widow's pension, on a civilian widow's pension, rearing 7 young children, and he and Harry and John would give a percentage of their earnings to Mum to help support the family, and they did this for a number of years. Even after they finished school and went into the working life. They, Mum's telling me what to do again. John and Hal were very good to Mum, and even right through even to today, they have always been good to Mum. They've always been understanding of her situation, and I don't know how Mum would have survived without Harry and John's input. And I think certainly us younger ones appreciate what they did. Whilst Hal was at CBC in the city, he learnt to ballroom dance. And Gilkisons used to run dancing lessons at the school, and when they had the big dancing competition, he won it. And as a result, he was then asked to go into the Gilkisons dance studio, which he did just about every Saturday night, and in lieu of his having to pay for his admission, he would teach dancing, and very, very often would take Mum in, as a young widow she was, take her in with him to go dancing on a Saturday night, and the other boys would look after us younger ones, I guess. And Hal, he passed his bronze, silver and gold medals in dancing. He's a wonderful dancer, and he even danced on Club 17 on TV.
You're a dark horse, Harry. You're a dark horse,
He was also a very keen rifle shooter, and he won the rifle shooting competition at CBC school as well. And as a result of that, he was able to go to Queensland, where he was in the national competitions, and he lost the overall winner by 1 point, wasn't it, Harry? He would have won. He was in the... that was in the days when he was an Air Force cadet at the school. His love of aeroplanes was evident when he was still a teenager, as he used to spend every bit of the spare money that he had left over from his after-school jobs and out-of-school jobs on model aeroplanes. And I remember we weren't allowed to go into his bedroom when we were kids, but I remember the times when I did look in there, all you would see is aeroplanes, model aeroplanes everywhere. In 1961, at the end of his school days, he secured a job as an engineering drafting cadetship at the Public Works Department, and he worked with Gary Meek, who's here tonight. And during this time, all his spare money went on flying lessons. And then in 1964, he got a flying scholarship with the Royal Aero Club, and this was followed by a government scholarship to get a commercial licence. That's his beginning to his flying career. I remember the times when we younger kids at home Harry would take us down to the Royal Aero Club Christmas parties, and he would buy all our gifts for us. And they were the only Christmas parties that we ever went to, and we didn't have a dad to take us to, so he used to do that for us. Also, another time, Harry rescued a man who had drowned at the bottom of the river. He pulled him up and saved this man's life, and when he came around to meet Harry, having saved his life, and he gave Harry £10, Mum, he handed it straight over to Mum to buy books for us kids. That was the sort of son that he was. 1967, Harry went to work for Murchison Air Charter and he went to live in the northwest. And I feel that this was probably the best chapter of Harry's life because having gone up there, he met Pat and he went away, as far as we were all concerned, as a father figure, and he came back. Pat brought him back to us as a brother. So it was wonderful. That was the best thing that happened as far as we were concerned. He met Pat and we learnt a whole new Harry. We're proud of you, Hal.
You won't find any better people in this world to be with. So thanks for coming along tonight, and good luck to you, Harry and Pat.
Typical 146, the wings all wrong. Wait a minute. Hold on. We could put it on here. Wait,
Silence there for a second, please. Red O'Neil would like to say something or other. Over to you, Red. Harry?
Harry, sit down.
I know you're the captain and you're used to giving the orders, but can you sit down for a minute? Would you actually like him on the stool, or would you like him where he is? Is it okay? All right. Everyone, eyes on Harry. Over to you, Red.
Thank you. This is a non-flying story.
I hope it's good. I hope it's decent.
But what a great day today. Harry, what a great day. The Eagles got beaten. Anyway, this story goes back to back in the early 80s when I was living up in Newman, and Harry was flying the Citation with SkyWest in those days. Yeah. Transwest.
Get away, SkyWest.
Anyway, Harry overnighted up there for some reason. One
cyclone.
Oh, that's right, it's the cyclone. Yeah. So the cyclone come through here, and so he comes down to Newman to stay the night there. And so we come over to my place. I said, Harry, let's go down the road. This little roadhouse. There's a little tavern next to it. Great, they serve great meals there. So let's go and have a meal.
Everything.
So we did, just him and I. Anyway, we had this great meal and a few beers, and I said, Harry, when we finished the meal, I said, hey Harry, do you want to do something exciting? He said, what's that? I said, do you want to do a runner? He said, what? I said, do you want to do a runner? He said, what's that? I said, Harry, take off without paying the bill. He said, you can't do that. I said, of course you can, let's try and get away with it. Harry, do something exciting in your life. You're dull, you're boring, do something thrilling. Exciting. He goes, oh, okay then. We did, took off. We jumped in the car and he said, shit, that was great. He said,
Been doing it ever since.
and we got away with it. Sensational, wasn't it, Harry? So all you people that think he's a real goodie kid. didn't know about that one. Harry's
Well done, Rick.
Harry, there's a little hostess in Brest, air traffic controller, who's still waiting for you for that promise you made to her when you came in to have a bit of a talk to her about the sexy voice you heard over the radio. So her name's Bridget, and when you want it, I've got her email address and her telephone number.
Right. Come on, what have you got to say?
I have absolutely nothing to add to that. You owe me a lot of money.
Harry, it's been a pleasure to know you for 27 years, and I'll keep on knowing you because we see each other. I hope you had a good night tonight. We did.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Harry. Hello, Harry.
All the very best in your retirement, Harry.
Where's me effing pay, mate?
Good one.
Anytime you need a jump set on the 727, Harry, no problems at all, mate.
Okay.
Gee whiz, you're lucky you met me, mate. The times that I've sorted you out and made sure that you can get into too much trouble has been innumerable.
You'll have to invite him up to your office at some stage, won't
And you are going to come and visit me on my 3rd floor, and I'll add 2 or 3 more just to make you feel really happy about that big elevator to the sky. And the toilet, by the way, is out in the common area, and I'll let you in there.
Thank you.
And by the way, congratulations, well.
1959, we had a swimming carnival down at Crawley Baths, and there's a 30-foot diving tower down there, and Harry was known as Tiny, of course, being the smallest one in the class. No, not quite, but anyway. Harry mounts the 30-foot diving tower just as Brother Drake was walking along in his castle, and does this almighty bombshell, which would drown just about everybody on the planet. And this brother, Christian brother Drake, just got totally saturated. Harry disappeared underneath the jetty, never to be seen again.
You did another runner, Harry.
And then about 6 months later we go up to the Boyer Quarry. We're having a geography class at the Boyer Quarry, and there's this rock sitting on this other rock that's been there for 350 million years. It's about this big, and Harry, being tiny, pushes this rock off the other rock. There's always a feature for the excursions from the school to have this rock, you see. So when the teacher found out, we had to put this rock back up on a pier somewhere. And there's about 6 of us trying to rescue this bloody rock. Harry's the main, he pushed it off. But I think my time's up. What about Sabrina? Were you involved with Sabrina? Were you involved with Sabrina, Harry? Were you involved with Sabrina?
Oh, absolutely.
No, neither was I.
Kids brought these pictures back, didn't they? Kids brought these, they had to pay money to buy the pictures of it.
Told him everything I possibly know. Just wishing the best of luck. That's all.
What have you got to say?
I'd like to say, my only regret is that I didn't get to fly with Harry. I've known Harry for about 20 odd years, and had a lot of good times with him, but never flew with him, unfortunately. Maybe fortunately, because we would have clashed, probably. And yeah, I wish him great fun and happiness and enjoyment in his retirement. And he's a great mate.
He's a good man. You got something to say?
My Brilliant Career, Oh Harry, that's the name of the musical comedy we're going to write about you. We need a few singers. The other thing, Harry, I want to say, Katie, you're Katie, was very gracious to you, Harry, and I hope you appreciate it and thank her for it. I think she should have related the story of when your mother entered your photo in the baby competition and you won it.
The girls section.
Yeah, the only thing was it was the girls section, Harry, and I reckon Katie should have told us all that story, but your sister is very kind and gracious to you, and for a prick like you, Harry, I hope you're very kind and gracious to Katie also.
He is. You got something to say?
Yeah, Harry, one of my fondest memories is our time together with CityJet in Europe. We flew together out of Paris, and
oh wow!
It was a wonderful time, and whenever I think back over the years that I've had in aviation, the time we had
fondest memory.